What's up, guys? Joe Munoz, OneStepPrep.com. Happy New Year, happy 2023 to you and your family as I adjust my microphone here. Hope you all are doing great. Wish you all the best. We're going to talk today about a couple things. First and foremost, obviously, I'm in gym gear, so I want you all to know a couple years back, I did a fundraiser and we raised some money for a student pilot. I'm going to do the same thing this year of 2023, only this time I'm not running a race. I'm going to compete in men's physique, so I'm headed straight from here to the gym, and that's why you see me dressed the way I am, all right? So anyways, a lot of stuff going on. Apart from that, I want to talk also today about a couple things, VR being one of it. Is virtual reality going to replace the instructor-led training environment, boys and girls? Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. And behind me, I got a quick little presentation on One Step Prep, what we do, how we can be a solution to you, and also the type rating training footprint that you might be faced as we get you geared up going through either a 121 training program or a 142 training program. So behind me, you're going to see you've got One Step Prep on the left side, One Step Prep Academy on the right. Just for some clarity, we started as One Step Prep as a company. We have since kind of morphed into or branched into a 142 school. This is to prepare you for a type rating. This is online courseware. This gives you the type rating. This actually issues not only the rating, but also the ATP license, those of you that are looking to get licensed with an FAA ATP license. All right, so go to onestepprep.com. We've got your solution for you, an online courseware and also an actual getting or issuing of the rating of the license. Let's talk a little bit about your type rating footprint. You just got hired at a 121 carrier, okay? Or even if you're coming to a 142 school, but this is primarily tailored to those of you that are in a 121 environment. You've got step one, basic indoc training, stands for basic indoctrination. This is where you learn about the company, its history, your pay, your benefits, your flight benefits, your insurance, the bidding. Like a lot of different things go into the basic indoc portion of training that you're not going to see at a 142 school, but you will see in a 121 airline environment. This is 5 to 10 days, okay? Then we go into the systems training. This is typically a 5-day footprint. It could be given to you one of two ways. 40-hour CBT, computer-based training, is very common. Unfortunately, places are getting away from the instructor-led environment and they're going more towards the self-study CBT tragedy, as I like to say. I like to affectionately refer to CBT as ZBT because I think it is a training aid turned sleeping aid. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a second. Once we get past that, we're going to do typically your oral exam. This is a checking event here. Then we go to step 3. That's your sim training, comprised usually of 12 days. In those 12 days, you're looking at everything from systems integration training that's typically done in either a flat panel touchscreen trainer, or it could be a fixed base sim, and then later on a full motion sim. After that, we go to the check ride, another checking event, so 2 checking events in total. That's what it should be. Those of you instructors out there that are educators turned examiners, check yourself. Okay, I'm going to talk about that for a little bit here as well. So let's look at CBT. The first problem, okay, the problems with systems training, particularly for those of you fresh to the type rating game, it's going to oftentimes leave the pilot feeling ill-prepared for their oral. In other words, let me just kind of stop here for a second. The reason that is, why I get all this great systems knowledge, why would I feel ill-prepared? Well, because what happens with CBT, folks, is that you have such a short amount of time, and it's full of great information. The problem is it prioritizes the lesson over connection with the end student being you, the end user being the student, right? And so one of the things that I'm a big advocate of is never ever prioritize the lesson over connection. You always want to connect first and then give the lesson. Well, CBT does a great job delivering lessons, but it ain't connecting with nobody because it doesn't retain attention well, okay? So let's go through some of these bullets. It leaves the pilots feeling ill-prepared. Prudent data is never received, not because it didn't deliver, but because you weren't positioned to receive, because it didn't retain your attention. It's too robotic. It lacks a personal touch. And as you saw me say or heard me say earlier, it unfortunately prioritizes a lesson over connection. This is CBT. A lot of times in these training programs, the pilots feel like they've got 20 days to learn an airplane that took 20 years to build with a team of 20,000 people. By the way, here's some manuals that are 20,000 pages long. Good luck, we're all counting on you. And we'll sprinkle a little 40-hour ZBT on top to give you a little help. But really, folks, the solution is what you see here. OneStepPrep.com, online courseware videos where we take the complex and we simplify it. The beauty of One Step Prep, if you don't know, we simplify the complex Very fun and interactive approach. We give you probable questions with preferred responses. And oh, by the way, we have a 100% oral exam pass guarantee or your money back. And so what we've done essentially is try to simplify the complex, cut through the fat, and share with you, hey, this is really what you want to know. Because particularly, as I said earlier, for those of you that are new to this type rating game, when you have this amount of information in this little time, what you need is a coach. Someone who can say, hey, you're navigating down this dark road that's flooded and I know where the potholes are, so you should go left here and go right here. Oh, by the way, you're climbing this mountain and you've never climbed this before. You need a team because I'm an advocate. Here's a life lesson for you. As the challenge elevates, the need for a team escalates. And in other words, you need someone to work with you through these times of training, and we want to be that solution for you. Let's go back to looking here through some other problems throughout the footprint that you're going to have as you go through training. Okay, finally, we got through the systems training. You passed your oral successfully, congratulations. Now we're off to the sim training. What are some other problems you're going to encounter in particularly step 3? This is your sim training, okay? Remedial training caused by poor foundation. In other words, your instructors set out to build a wall instead of to lay a brick. And what should be done, in my opinion here, is lay a brick as well as you can, lay your second one, lay your third one, lay your fourth one. Before you know it, you've laid bricks well that finally formed a wall. We didn't set out to build a wall, we just set to lay a brick as perfectly as possible so that we're gonna have a strong foundation once everything is said and done. Now the reason that's relevant is because, I'll give you an example. I can't talk to you about flight controls if I don't go through hydraulics, because the flight controls on these jets are hydraulic, right? So if I don't go through the hydraulics and talk about the power transfer unit, then there's no sense in talking about leading edge devices and auto slats, which is flight controls, unless I talk to you about hydraulics. Now, for those of you that are lost, based on what I just said there, that's okay. But imagine having somebody talk to you about this that had it in an order that was all mixed up, and so it's not, if it doesn't make sense now, it really isn't going to make sense in a little bit when you actually get into the intricacies of it. And so it's really important that you have a guide that has done this before, that tells you where to step, when to step, and can be there for you. That's ultimately what our video courses aim to do and what we aim to do for you here at One Step Prep. We've got educators turned examiners, instructors, those of you listening to this right now, and I'm talking now to you guys. If you're in a training event, it should be training. If you're in a checking event, it's checking, but don't mix the two. Oftentimes, this gets confused. Lack of instructor standardization, lack of simplification of the complex element. By the way, if you can't simplify the complex, instructors, it's because you yourself don't understand it well enough to simplify it. That's your problem, not the student's problem. You need a student, as an instructor student, you need somebody who's going to take accountability to that level. By the way, all of this can be summarized by the last thing here, which is essentially poor instruction quality. Now, if you come here to One Step Prep, let me get out of the way of this beautiful logo here, you're going to get somebody, an instructor, that is AX3 certified. What does that mean? That means the instructor who's working with you underwent a 1-day, 8-hour standardization that basically prioritizes the 4 things behind me. Number 1, values, right? Values you as the student. And you as a student should feel the intensity of the sincerity of the instructor. If that's not true, instructors, your students won't care how much you know because they don't know how much you care. Maybe you've heard that before too. Next 2, 3 or 4 things here. We're going on the second one. Attention, get it, keep it, retain it, and then deliver the lesson, right? Then teach. Most instructors like courseware, they teach. They don't get and keep attention very well. Awareness. You need to raise yourself in situational awareness as to how well are you doing the step above that. And finally, accountability. You are ultimately the leader of the class. You lead the class, which means the outcome of the class rises and falls on you because all things rise and fall on the leadership. So you are the leader of the class, instructor. And so what I'm saying to you, whether you're watching this from a position of you're an instructor or you're a student, if you're a student, you want an instructor that's gone through this program. By the way, you want an instructor that feels highly accountable for your success. If you're an instructor, you want to model this kind of instruction right here. I mentor a instructor for that flies for EasyJet. I won't mention any names on here, but I work with him on a monthly basis on developing him as an instructor. And one of the questions he asks is, what do you think qualifies somebody to be a good instructor? Well, the first thing is valuing people. Because if I don't value them, I'm not going to take the steps to do any of this and develop myself to better develop the student. First thing. Second thing, now that I have value to people and on my students, now I'm going to look to increase technical knowledge and communication ability. Because if I have technical knowledge but I can't communicate, or if I can communicate but I don't have technical knowledge, it's the bridge with nothing to cross the bridge. Or better yet, I've got a big load that's ready to cross the bridge, but I don't know how to build a bridge, right? All kinds of analogies I can give you here. All that to tell you folks, join me in this class if you want to elevate your instruction ability, or if you want to elevate your knowledge of the 7-3 or the 320. OneStepPrep.com, AX3Certification.com. These courses, we're holding them typically once a month. It's an 8-hour program, 1-day event. It's an intense 8 hours, comes with a video library, comes with a workbook. We do the exercises together with you. Some carriers that have been doing, the mission's spreading, folks. The classes are growing. The impact is growing. We've been doing this with Atlas, with PSA, with Global X. We've done it with Amerijet. I mean, we've done this with a few groups, and the groups are growing. The airlines are growing. And as I said, the impact is growing. This picture down here, I went over to Charlotte. I think we talked to a little over 50 people here in this class. And where were you? That's the question, okay? AX3Certification.com/enroll. Next one is going to be sometime in January, I think on the 20th this month. We do them pretty much every single month. And those of you that are looking, as I said, not to necessarily instruct, but you just want to increase your proficiency and technical knowledge on an airplane, OneStepPrep.com. We want to work with you in person or online. Reviews, those of you that have used our stuff before, please drop us a review, OneStepPrep.com/reviews. Here's a little picture of some of our team behind us. Uh-oh, Alexis, she's there on the screen, okay? I don't want to be in the camera. Monica's there. Jackie is not on there, but she's here in the studio hanging. All right, we got Diego, we got me, we got Juan. Missing people off of here. We don't have Bruce, George, some of our instructors. We got a nice team of people here. We're all waiting to help you out when you come training in person. Now, with all that, let me back up all this. Let's talk about this right here. Is virtual reality going to take over training as a whole? Do you think it will? I'd love to hear your comments down below. By the way, if I haven't said so, like, subscribe, share, please. Drop your comments, even if they're negative ones. We love all the critique. It's all good, brother and sister. So, hey, is this going to take over the training game? And you know what? Let me be clear with this. The virtual reality thing, for those of you that haven't worked with this headset before, okay, I think there's a place for this. The problem with this, though, is that you will, in my opinion, you will never replace human-to-human interaction. A true instructor-led environment will not be replaced by this until we can stick a chip in our head or put on a helmet and download all the information into our brain. I don't see this being a complete replacement, but I do see it being a tool. Now, what's interesting, and maybe you guys can echo this, the more we get into a digitized robotic age, the more that happens, the more I have a craving to want to interact with a person, with a human being, someone who is a human that I can relate with, and they can relate with me, and I can relate with them, right? I mean, you call, just a very simple example, you call somewhere and they ask you to press the number 1 or 2 or what have you. They go through the whole phone tree, and at the end of the phone call, you're just frustrated because you haven't been able to talk to a person. And ultimately, what I think is true in every human interaction is I want to talk to a person. And so this is good, right? Because I can do flows with this. I can see the cockpit, and I can see the isolation valve, and I can see in the 320 I can push the APU bleed valve, right? But now, what happens when I push the APU bleed valve? The APU bleed valve opens, the engine bleed valve's closed, assuming the cross bleed is in the auto position, that opens, right? Is this going to explain that to me simply the way that a human being could? Not the way that some computer-generated voice would. It's the way that a human would, that understands my background and can relate if they are an effective instructor. This is the other thing. If you're not an effective instructor, I could see this replacing you. But those of you instructors that are great, it would be hard to replace a really good musician with a really good instrument. Now, if you're a mediocre musician with mediocre instruments, then maybe something like this would replace you. But the fact of the matter is, just in my humble opinion, instructor-led training, I don't think will be replaced, at least not in the very near future. Obviously, there's been moves to get CBT only, which have not been very well received by the pilots. By other entities, they're well received for different reasons. But for us as a pilot, right, we want someone that we can talk to. Just my opinion of it. So that being said, I'll end on that note and say, I hope you choose us to be the people that you talk to, and we want to talk to you. OneStepPrep.com is the website. Juan and Joe, J&J, your friends in training program success. Look forward to working with you in person or online. We can do it virtually too, by the way, if you're far away from Miami. And if that's the case, reach out. I'm sure one of us here will get back to you ASAP so we can coordinate something. All right, we'll see you in another video.